straight after the clicking. We'll start inshallah. Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. We have Faisal Choudhry in the house, famously known for Freshly Grounded and his comedic videos all over the internet. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How you doing, bro?
I'm very well, man. People often complain that when I'm a guest on a podcast, I'm showing too much of my serious side. But when I'm a guest, look at the environment that you created for us. Like, it's very, very nice and serene. I can't have high energy here. I'm just nice and relaxed.
No, we're gonna try. Inshallah, the mint tea will kick something
Maybe.
in you, and we got some cardamom in there as well. So
Okay, fine.
hopefully that'll give you a little kick.
For now, I'm nice and serene.
Alhamdulillah, bro. How's things been, bro? Recently you did, mashallah, tabarakallah, your second live event. I thought it was amazing. We were all there, all the brothers were there. Mashallah, tabarakallah. It was very inspiring. I want to ask you how has the feedback been, firstly?
The feedback's been amazing, alhamdulillah. The feedback for the event was amazing, and I was so happy with how the event turned out. However, I got some calls kind of the next day and stuff from people, and they're like, "How are you feeling? Like, you must be so excited, you must be so gassed." And this is gonna make me sound like I'm trying to be humble or trying to be like something I'm not. But genuinely, bro, I didn't feel great after it at all.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't feel great after it, man. Not because I felt like the event went well. It exceeded my expectations with how, like, the measures that I had for the success of the event. But I think that if you listen to your fitra, you never feel... If you feel like self-admiration, it's extremely dangerous. So I'm grateful for the fact that I didn't feel that gassed about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, so you get a mix of, like... I had good conversations with good people after. I spoke to my teachers a lot after about just how I feel and stuff, and...
More sort of like their take on why you felt like that.
They said that it's good for a Muslim to question whether his actions are accepted by Allah, because ultimately anything that we're doing, really and truly, if we're not doing it to please Allah in some way, then it's a waste of an action, innit? So they said it's good, and they reassured me that, because I have a very clear vision that I've told the very close people around me about, but I don't sing and dance about it all the time, about what the real, like, roots of the vision are, which ultimately is nothing to hide. It's ultimately just to, like, try and bring a new audience to listen to something that is not music, and something that isn't necessarily Quran either. Because I really and truly I created Freshly Grounded for myself, or for people who were like myself at the time, because at the time I was working in the city in retail, and so I would have a 1 hour journey to work and a 1 hour journey from work, and this must be 5 years ago, bro. So I was new to practicing Islam, and so if just listening to Quran was tough for me, like, for 2 hours in a day, but listening to nasheeds was, like, I don't know about the nasheeds that I was listening to, like, they sounded a lot very similar to the music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm so unknowledgeable. I can't say that anything's right or wrong, but the nasheeds didn't hit me either, or I just didn't enjoy listening to them that much.
Yeah.
So I used to listen to podcasts, but I thought maybe if there's a medium where other Muslims like me want to listen to things like this, but they don't necessarily, they're not into, for example, sports or something, then what podcast can they listen to? And so I decided to create it.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
You started it first in your bedroom, right? By yourself?
Yeah, it's called The Next Phase at that point.
SubhanAllah.
The concept was, because obviously my name is Faisal,
Yeah.
the next phase being that it's like the next phase from going from, like, maybe not practicing to practicing, so it's like the next phase of your life. So the concept of it was the same. It was just Freshly Grounded, but with a different name.
Yeah. What made you, because I think you stopped that for a while, didn't you?
Yes.
And then you started Freshly Grounded from scratch.
Yeah.
Or was it the same thing that just kind of morphed into Freshly Grounded?
No, I quickly realized that you can't have a guest. I knew that consistency was the only thing that would allow us to grow, right? So I had to be consistent. I had to release an episode every whatever I decide, whether it's every week, every day. But once I decide that, I have to be consistent on it. Otherwise, I've got no chance. And so I wanted to release a podcast weekly. But I realized you can't get a guest every week. It's very difficult. And I know so many people who have podcasts who struggle with that. And the question I get asked the most is how do you get guests? And so I knew that I needed a co-host, and I didn't know if I could get a co-host. But I think I made that like Allah blesses me with someone who understands all of the things that are important to me. Like, for example, in Freshly Grounded, it's important that we don't we're talking so much, and when we know that the tongue can lead a majority will lead the majority of people to hellfire. So if I want to take on a project that I'm going to be using my tongue for the majority of it, I have to really know what I can and can't use my tongue for. And so exposing sins, lying, and a real sneaky one is joking when lying. Lying when joking.
Yeah.
Because that's normal and natural. And if we do it amongst the brothers, it's still, obviously though, even though it's not permissible, it can be caught very quickly, and it's amongst the brothers, it's between your four walls, so you're not publicly doing it and promoting it, right? But when you're doing it and thousands of people are listening, you can't really take it back. So I needed someone who maybe was as serious about those things. So I made the art to Allah, and then I ended up going Gambia, and that's where I met Sam, and we just got along so well, and so I kind of proposed that to him, and alhamdulillah, he reluctantly accepted my offer, and that's how she got started.
MashaAllah. I do think you guys make a good good team together. Like, you can see the chemistry and the energy between you guys, and when you guys speak, mashallah, like you can see the conversation flow between you guys. So I think it's a good fit.
I love Sam, man. He's the best.
He's a really nice guy, mashallah.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
I've only met him a few times, but he's a very nice guy. Allahumma barik.
Yeah, he's a very busy man. Yeah, Allahumma barik. He's got a lot going on for himself, and he has a big family now, alhamdulillah. You know, since Freshly Grounded, when Freshly Grounded started, I think he had just had his first child, and now he's got 2 children, alhamdulillah. And so, and then his businesses. So people don't often see him, but yeah, he's a very inspirational man.
Yeah. You know, before you came today, actually, this morning I was thinking, I remember when you used to do those videos, when you used to do the interviews with people, and you took it off because you said
emotional interviews.
They were really good. I think the first time I came across your videos was, I think, one of those videos.
Yeah, loads of people, they really increased my traffic, and I think that's what got me started getting me quite a good amount of followers. And I also, they were my favorite videos to make. I really enjoyed them. Yeah, that was a tough decision.
They were really funny, man. Very entertaining. I remember I was watching it, and I was like to my losses, "Oh, watch this, it's so funny." And,
but looking back, I wouldn't be able to watch them now. They'd be so cringy, bro.
Yeah, because it's been 3 years, I think, right?
Maybe, yeah.
And so you must have gone through so many different things, grown and matured and developed. So it is going to be cringy when you watch it back.
So cringy.
But what I was thinking about today is, I was thinking maybe, I was just reflecting on it. I was like, maybe Allah gave Freshly Grounded acceptance or success because you gave up something for His sake. You gave up making those videos for the sake of Allah. We hope that was your intention, and we asked Allah to accept it from you. And I was thinking maybe that's why Allah replaced it with something that was better. Because sometimes you don't think about it at the time. You don't think, oh, if I give this up, maybe I'm not gonna succeed in anything else. This was like this was like the thing that really made me. But then Allah gives you something better. And
I never considered that until today.
Really?
I mean, the concept of you leaving something for Allah's sake and Allah replacing it with something better, obviously we talk about all the time, but I never pinpointed that. And you mentioning that it's it makes a lot of sense.
I think a lot of us, like, when we start practicing, we give up things for the sake of Allah, and Allah does replace it with something better, but we don't really know what it is. We can't really pinpoint it sometimes. And sometimes people sort of think that now they're practicing, Allah hasn't given them something better, but He has. You just don't know what it is. So so it was an important point, I think, I wanted to mention to you, and I wanted to see if you had thought of that too.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
But bro, I could talk about Allah all day. He's my favorite thing to talk about.
And that's why.
It's just so amazing how like how giving, how merciful, how loving he is, despite us, being constant sinners. You can't stop reflecting on it. It's so shockingly amazing. Like even you just sit and think about it, you feel guilt, but more than that, you feel love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's true, subhanAllah. I remember that interview you done with, podcast you done with Hamza Zotsis, and you were saying how when you first start practicing, and that when you had that state of awakeness, awakening, which they call yaqada in Arabic, you wanted to hug Allah.
Yeah.
That's very problematic, akhi.
I know. Yeah, very problematic. No, but yeah. I was trying to explain the feeling.
That was really cute, man. Allahumma barik. That was very cute.
Yeah, it's hard to put that feeling into words.
Yeah.
And on many levels, you got to be careful with those statements as well.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. But alhamdulillah, yeah, that's what you feel. You feel very warm, and you feel like you. It makes you maybe more driven to want to meet him.
Yeah.
See his face.
MashaAllah.
Isn't it?
When it came to like the events and stuff like that, the first event and the second event, what was your kind of relationship with Allah in terms of like making dua and like asking for His aid, and was there like a difference in the first event and the second event?
I think that everyone who is trying to achieve something great, or they've got something coming up, I think naturally and probably sadly your ibadah or your du'as and stuff do increase, because you have such a big thing that you want, right? And you know who's got who can make it happen. So yeah, of course, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because it should be like this all year round, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, my du'as increase, perhaps like the way in which I'm making du'a, because I want this to be a success for many reasons. And so I very much so am conscious of the fact that Allah is the one who can give it.
Inshallah. The reason I wanted to touch on this is because it's important when we try to achieve something to always make like plenty of du'a. It doesn't, like, obviously it's not good like if you're only making du'a when you need something, but even then it's so good because you're still, it's kind of like your tawheed, you're going back to Allah. When you're in need, you're going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're asking Allah to give it to you, and that without His aid and without His will, nothing would come to be. So so that's why I think it's important for like listeners to realize as well that whenever they want something, it shouldn't be going to people first and asking them, oh, can you give me this, can you help me with this, and asking for advice, but it's asking Allah ultimately, and then consoling people and speaking to others for assistance. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I know what you mean. The scary thing that I reflect on a lot, kind of based on what you're saying, is the idea that you don't ever want that to stop. Like, you don't want your reliance upon Allah to stop, because one of the things that affects me the most, I'd say, in my Islam is the fact that the Prophet ﷺ used to make the dua so much to Allah, Ya muqallib al-qulub thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O turner of hearts, keep my heart firm on your deen, on your religion. And the reason that scares me, boys, because that was a Prophet ﷺ. So who are we? So my biggest fear is losing my heart not being firm on the deen, and obviously you don't realize it, that's the point of it, isn't it? You don't realize it. You think that you're fine. What a scary thought.
It's true, subhanAllah.
It's the scariest thought, bro, that I can possibly have. Because you don't know when, if that was to happen to one of us, I mean, Allah protect us from that, man. But if that was to happen to one of us, the concept of it is that you don't realize, or if you realized it was happening, or if you knew it, it probably wouldn't have happened, right? It's happened in like a gradual way or something. So that's a very, very scary thought. A very scary thought.
Behind, not trying to like expose your good deeds and stuff, but because you're doing something like Islamic, like the Fresher Ground that is sort of like tailored for Muslims, and you could say it's like an Islamic project. Since you're doing that, because sometimes we can think because we're doing something Islamic that that's also going to be the means for our iman to increase.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if someone's doing charity work, it doesn't mean that because they're doing charity work for the sake of Allah and Islamic, that the iman is going to increase.
Yeah, exactly.
So while you're doing that, do you like do certain things like when your iman is feeling low, and is there other things that you do to keep your iman up, like spiritually high?
Yeah, look, one of my fears of freshly grounded is that I'll get all my reward in this dunya, and I won't see anything in the next life. And the reason that's a fear of mine is because I was reading recently about how if your intentions are messed up, there's certain intentions, and you'll know this better than me because I can't even remember like the details of it. But essentially, like the fact that there's a type of intention that you can have, which isn't necessarily bad, and it's still for the sake of Allah, but it's there's other intentions maybe involved in it, and so the result of that intention is that you get all your reward in the dunya, and you don't get it in the next life, and that's such a scary thought. So, I definitely don't feel like freshly grounded is my ticket. Even though we hear such beautiful messages from people, and the one that probably touches me the most is a brother who I met in JD Sports just for our first event. I was getting an outfit for the first event, and he goes, and he was on the verge of committing suicide, and he didn't. He says because of freshly grounded, and when you hear stuff like that, it shakes you inside. But even then, I don't feel like that's enough for me to get the reward of it on Yom Al-Qiyamah. I think that genuinely, I'm not saying that I do this, but we know that the deeds that are probably going to weigh the most are the ones that nobody knows about, right?
Yeah,
so we should try and increase in those deeds, but it's not easy, innit?
You remind me of the story of Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, because he had the same fear, because by the end of his life he was maybe like a billionaire of our time. And so when he got that rich, he would cry and he would be upset, thinking that Allah, all the battles that he fought in Badr, Uhud, all of this things that he sacrificed for Allah, he was thinking Allah has maybe I have no share in the akhirah, and Allah has given me all my reward in this dunya. So he used to get upset over that, similar to what you were saying about freshly grounded. But I was more asking about your personal, like your spirituality and your iman, like outside, because people don't see what you do. Like, do you maybe attend classes and you feel like that's your boost for iman? Because iman goes up and down, it fluctuates. Yeah. So what's that thing that you kind of do? Maybe others will benefit from to keep yourself afloat.
It's weird, bro, because you don't feel comfortable speaking about yourself, innit?
Yeah.
Like about what you do, because it's almost like you putting a case up and saying that you're deserving of like higher iman or something. I go to classes, alhamdulillah. Allah blessed me with amazing teachers who I'm able to study Quran with, and to study Arabic, and that helps me. That definitely. If I have, one of the things that I hold the dearest to me is I'm able to even so I think it's like quite well known that we study at Badr on Saturdays, and that's like an Arabic class, right? But I have a good relationship with my teacher, Ustad Yahya, for Quran, and so having that is one of the biggest blessings in my whole life. Inshallah. Being able to have the Quran, because I was actually forced into that. I didn't choose to do that, and I'm so grateful to Allah that He put me in that, because maybe I would never have taken a step to. I never wanted to, like, for example, like the way that the Quran class average is. I'll tell this story because I'm not exposing like any like good deeds or anything. This is what happened, right? Ustad, so I was ill. Yeah, I had fallen a bit sick. Nothing major, but I was just a bit sick. And so Ustad Yahya and Ustad Jamal, as they do, turned up at my house, right, to visit me because I was sick. So we're at the house now, and I was reading because they were there, I must have like read something to them from the Mus'haf, yeah? And so I hadn't started like Quran, like for example, like Hifz or anything like that, right? And so I was reading, and Ustad Jamal, he goes to me, Faisal, I think that you need to now start like Quran class, like seriously, right? Like memorization and stuff. And he said you need to start, and you have Ustad Yahya here, who is the perfect teacher for that. And and he like literally orchestrated everything between myself and Ustad Yahya there and then. He said you will go and see him at this time every week, and you will see him here, and you will spend this much time with him, and you're going to memorize this, and you're going to do that before the sitting was finished. And so by the end of it, I was now a student of Quran, and I didn't have anything to do with it, and it made me extremely nervous. And I didn't know if I could, because I didn't know if I could like keep up with those commitments on a weekly basis and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just so grateful that he did that, and that Allah put me in that position without me asking for it. What an amazing blessing. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you just need to be put in it, or put yourself in it, whether you think you can commit or not, just to do it. Because then if you say, you know what, I'll do it when this happens, and I'll leave it. Sometimes if you might have the zeal at the time to do something, but then it doesn't mean like a month later, 2 months later, maybe even like a few days later, you might not be interested in doing it anymore. Like I know like brothers, for example, wanting to go study abroad, and they keep like delaying it, and then like now if you speak to them, they don't have that same zeal to going. So I think it's really important to just put your like foot in the door. And
I think that's the hikmah of a teacher, isn't it? Like knowing when to catch you. You're ready for this.
MashaAllah.
I wouldn't have thought that I was ready. So
how do you feel like that Ustad Yahya and Ustad Jamal, like how do you think they've impacted you since you've sort of met them in your life?
I could do a whole podcast on it, bro. I'll tell you the way that I feel that they've impacted me the most, and that is with my interactions with people. I think we all know that their interactions with people are very soft and very nice and very loving and very caring. And what they taught me not through anything that they said, but just by me watching them, is the idea of like of ego and stuff, right? And so if we take it back to when I perhaps wasn't practicing, I would see practicing Muslims as daunting and as like self-righteous and arrogant, wrongly obviously, and not to say that all practicing people are like that, but that was my experience maybe. And so I didn't ever feel comfortable around, for example, ISOC and stuff like that. I never felt comfortable around them, and so I actually would go like, I'll try and avoid people like that, and I think that was like me having my guard up and being like, oh, if they're like not going to talk to me, I don't even want to talk to them, or something like that, right? Yeah. And then when I started like seeing how they interact with people, they interact with everyone with such like no ego. They let their guard down instantly, and then that lets that person in. I think that the biggest problem right now with like the divide between like Muslims who are conscious of their faith and Muslims who are not conscious of their faith is that the two like kind of like really dislike each other, and there's a unspoken like feeling in the air, and it's like they both don't talk to each other, they both can't avoid each other, and they both like have this like maybe ego against each other or whatever. And the minute you drop that, the minute you drop your ego, the other person drops their ego, because they see that there's no threat there. Yeah. So and that's what I've seen in them. Like I know brothers who have who like Sheikh Jamal, for example, has been around, and he shows them so much love, so much affection, that he's approaching you with no ego. There's no ego here. There's no guard here or anything. He's just showing you love. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? How's things? He knows things about them, and then that automatically they drop their ego, because you're not going to be mean to someone who's not mean to you, are you? So all of a sudden you drop your ego, and your misconceptions have gone, and then you are nice to them now. And that was a concept that I was alien to before. Not that I was rude to people, but I suppose like if people said, oh, like, you know, this person, like, don't chill with them too much, something like that, I'll maybe stay away. But now, as I'm maturing in age, I realize that, you know, if everyone runs away from that person, then how are we going to try and bring that person back to loving Allah? So actually going to that person and letting your guard and ego down, and you give them a hug, you know what I mean, and like and stuff, it goes such a long way. So that's what I've probably learned the most of them, dealing with people.
No, I agree, subhanAllah, because you need to have like my teacher says, that you need to have one hand sort of grabbing onto someone who's like above you, like more practicing, more knowledgeable and stuff, and another one like pulling someone who's a bit further away from Allah. So you're kind of like the link between the two groups.
Yeah, I agree, and it's, like you said, it's about having that balance, because you don't want to be too much this way and not too much that way. But I will say that if any, you know, I've been around some brothers who maybe are like prominent on YouTube and stuff, who maybe people see as like or like shuyukh as well, who people might see as like super strict, and you know, they would never show mercy or love to anybody who they feel that is, you know, not, it doesn't have like a certain seriousness about Allah. And when I've seen them in person, they have so much love to give to all brothers and sisters. Well, brothers, I've only ever seen it around brothers, but they have so much love to give to all the brothers, even like brothers who perhaps are like further from Deen. And then you learn that people actually, as people get older and more mature in their faith, they are softer, aren't they? With the people, but and they're harsh on themselves. Which is so beautiful to see.
I think that's a statement of
Imam Shafi, maybe.
I think it was Ibn Mas'ud or Ibn Abbas. I always get them two mixed up.
Fine.
Yeah, but it was I think one of them said it as well. SubhanAllah.
Be strict on yourself and easy with others.
Yeah.
It's amazing, bro. When you see people master that, that's something that we need to achieve, man.
Before you start practicing, and then when you did start practicing, how did you? Because I know you went through a period when you didn't have like friends around and stuff like that. So how did you get into like meeting the brothers, and how did you get over that sort of fear of being judged by this like group of practicing people that you thought were too kind of maybe daunting to be around?
Okay, I'd love to talk about this, because I don't think I've ever spoken about it before.
Alhamdulillah.
And I have the right answer for it. Or I have the I know
exclusive on Strong Believers.
This is an exclusive. So what happened is, I probably only ever knew one practicing person, right? And he was my sister's husband's cousin. So when you go to family occasions, he was the guy who had the beard. He was the guy who, like, if there was like weddings and stuff, he'd kind of sit at the back and just kind of pay his respects, then kind of leave early to at least like keep family ties. And so he was like the practicing one, right? And he was a few years older than me. And so he found out that I started becoming a bit more serious about my faith. And he goes, you should come to itikaf, yeah. And I was like, I didn't know what it was. He explained it to me, and I said, there's no way I can do that. I said, I can't read Alif Ba Ta. So what am I going to do for 16 hours without food in a masjid when everyone's probably reading Quran? Like, and he's like, nah, that's from shaitan. Trust me, the days actually go quicker. So this is my first ever year. I was 2 months into practicing, and I went into itikaf, and I met this brother. Now, this brother knows exactly who he is, and I won't mention him by name because he's one of the brothers that's, you know, he's not on social media or nothing. He's completely like an unknown person in terms of like social media. I believe that he's very well known by the angels and by Allah. I met this guy there, right? And he was a couple years younger than me, and he was in itikaf, and I started to spend some time with him. And then one day, like, they were like, oh, they went up to him and they were like, you know, the imam's not here, so you're gonna have to do tarawih. And so he led the whole tarawih at 17 years old.
SubhanAllah.
And I was like, who is this guy, bro? Like, and then I started to see, because he didn't ever talk about himself, so I know nothing about him. So I ended up becoming really close friends with him, because the guy who was like a family friend, he was quite a bit older than me. He was maybe, I would even stretch to say he's maybe 10 years older than me. So I couldn't relate to him too much. And he by then he was already married and everything. And so, but this guy who was 17, he was like more my age. I was 20, he was 17. So I became friends with him. So he's my one friend.
Yeah.
right? So I made one friend, right? This is 2 months into practicing. I've got one practicing friend.
Mashallah.
So bro, I would do everything with him, and I would take him to Cardiff because I was still at uni at the time. So I would take him to university, and he'd help me like set up my room for the next year and stuff. And we'd go everywhere together. I talk to him. I just talk to him all day long, and then he actually ended up going to Egypt to study. And then we were talking on the phone all the time. And alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with him, innit? He was my only practicing friend, and the da'wah he gave me, or the nasiha he gave me, is so amazing because he to this day doesn't realize how he done it. Akhi, this is what happened. He was harsh on himself and he was soft on me, and that's it. Akhi, I used to go because I didn't understand anything back then, bro. But I used to drive with him, yeah, because I used to drive with him. We'd drive past the restaurant, and I'd say to him, bro, I don't understand how that says halal. Like in Arabic, because I couldn't read Arabic, and he'd be like, because I started learning the letters, so he'd be like, but I said, but why is the lam and the alif like, why is it like diagonal? Like the alif, like, how is that say halal? I can understand ha, I can see the lam, but then why is that? And he tried to explain to me. So that's my level, right? And so I didn't understand the concept that you can't expose your sins. So I used to speak to him. I say, bro, I did this. I feel like this. And actually, he would just constantly make excuses for me, constantly, like. I didn't, but it was a type of relationship where if I went to McDonald's and I ate a Big Mac, which, alhamdulillah, I always knew not to eat harami and not to drink alcohol and stuff. But if I had, and I said to him, and he was with me, it would be the type of relationship where he would, and I said, oh, bro, I ate a Big Mac, and I knew it was wrong. He'd go, bro, there's an opinion that's permissible. So don't stress yourself. And I'll be like, oh, raw. So he made the deen so easy for me.
Yeah.
Everything I come to him with, bro, unless it was a really serious issue about Aqidah. And even then, he would say, Allah is the most forgiving. Just pray your 2 rakat, make like tawbah, and, and then forget about it.
Mashallah.
And so, but that would rarely happen because the things I would come to him with, as you know, a lot of the stuff, especially in fiqh, is like, has ikhtilaf in it.
Yeah.
And he obviously was a studied person, even though he was so young. And so he'd say, there's an opinion for this, there's an opinion for that, there's an opinion. The guy's making me feel so relaxed in Islam, yeah. I'm feeling this isn't difficult. However, he wouldn't do the things that he'd make excuses for me. So I would want to be like him. Like, for example, if I was eating the Big Mac, the scenario would be that I would eat it and he would be like, it's calm, there's an opinion on that, but I would never catch him eating it. And I'd be like, no, I want to be like him. So slowly, that's how I got close to Allah because of him. And the story ends with years go past, blah blah blah, and we used to talk about how, like, I used to be like, oh bro, like, I just I kind of wanted Allah to make our bond stronger because he was like my connection to Allah at that time. And now I sit here and I actually ended up marrying his cousin. Yeah, and so now he's my family, and so I see him all the time. And we're family now, man. Alhamdulillah. It gives me goosebumps to talk about that because he was that connection. Bro, I can't express to you how much I love him. I spoke to last time I spoke to him was probably yesterday. Alhamdulillah, at the time we used to speak to each other and say like. We say, oh man, like we talk about, because we were young kids, actually, and I was like, oh man, I just want to be married now. He'd be like, yeah, but I just want to get married. Like we talk about it kind of now. Alhamdulillah, we both sit here, we both got our own families, and we've seen the growth. And sometimes we talk about it, we say, look at where we are now, where Allah has put us, and where we started. And it was probably my first relationship that started because of Allah, because we met in Itikaf, and it continues because of Allah. And I'm relying on that relationship because we know that one of the people that gets shade on the Yawm al-Qiyamah is two people who love each other for Allah's sake. And inshallah, my relationship with him began because of Allah, and so I'm relying on that.
Allahumma barik. He sounds like a proper beautiful brother.
You might know him. I'll tell you.
I think I might have. I have an image in my head of who you might be talking about.
Oh, you have met him once.
I have. Yeah.
He came to that dinner and I brought him with me.
Yeah,
remember?
I remember.
Yeah.
And he recited and stuff.
Yes.
As well. Yeah, I remember. Allahumma barik. He's younger than you, yeah?
Actually, he's 3 years younger than me. He's 22 years old.
Mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah.
Allahumma barik.
And actually, at the time, I've seen his journey grow so much. But at the time, bro, he was this guy, and like, people who are practicing. Assalamu alaikum. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
خير كردش
We should keep that in.
Yeah, that's just my dad came in with some clementines, oranges.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So you were
Um,
saying, bro?
I've seen his growth because at the time he was like, when we met, he was like really shy and closed off kind of person, and then he's grown. I've seen like his growth in just his own personality, and like when he got a job and like his interpersonal skills and stuff like that. So it's amazing seeing the growth of people, isn't it? Just like different aspects.
It's true, subhanallah.
Yeah.
It is amazing to see like when brothers that, especially like Shraim, who's behind the camera, and other brothers like you've kind of like grown together with them as well, and the impact that they've had on your life, and you see how they've grown and how you've grown and stuff like that. It's subhanallah, it's amazing, man. But the second thing I want to ask you was, how did your friendship, friendship group like increase? Because now, mashallah, tabarakallah, you know a lot of brothers, a lot of the Muslim brothers. How did that come to be?
I can't pinpoint it because obviously we don't know.
Yeah.
But I believe that it was due to one sincere dua that I made, because I hadn't. We were Omar talked about this story on the Fresh Divan event, and I've mentioned it a few times at different talks. But when I first came back to London, then we were like all sitting at my sister's house, and I went to the kitchen for a second, and actually I got this overwhelming. So I want to say 20, about 6 years ago. And obviously by then you're a grown man, so you don't cry easily. And except then, anyway, I'll carry on because I'm going to go off on tangents. So then I went to the kitchen, yeah, and I'm like looking through the cupboards trying to get something, and this overwhelming feeling I'll never be able to explain. This overwhelming feeling came over me, and I was crying so much, bro, like someone had died. I've never experienced it since. It's really, really weird feeling. My mum came rushing in, my brother came rushing in. What's happened? And I was basically saying like I've got no friends. Like I was saying like I've come back to the UK now, and because I started practicing in uni, I started making some friends over there. But obviously now I'm in London, so I don't. And I was just like, I don't really relate as much to my friends now. As much as I still love them, and I still talk to my friends and stuff, but. I feel like I don't know anybody who is a practicing Muslim who's young, and the only people who I know that are practicing Muslims, from what I know, is old people or like really boring people. And my brother, he basically said to me, he said, "Bro, you're gonna look back at this conversation in a year's time, and you're gonna think, what was I talking about?" And lo and behold, he was right. And I think I must have made dua around that time because I was so emotional. I must have made a sincere dua to Allah, like. You know, sometimes we make dua and then it doesn't get accepted, and you think, well, maybe my sincerity wasn't right. And sometimes the dua gets accepted, maybe you're so sincere. So I think I must have made a sincere dua, like asking Allah, you know, just bless me with people like that. And then, I feel like every day I meet a new person.
Mashallah.
Today is Shraim. I genuinely feel like every day I meet a new person who becomes a new friend, and I've only got Allah to thank for that. So I pray that it doesn't stop, because and also Allah knows you obviously better than you know yourself, so Allah knows what different people need. And some people, like probably yourself, I would imagine, are quite emotionally independent, and like you like being maybe alone sometimes more than ever. Am I right in thinking that?
From time to time I like being alone, sometimes with friends.
Whereas I like almost that vibe of the energy of others.
Mashallah.
Right? And I don't enjoy spending time alone. And so maybe because Allah knew that I needed friends.
We're very social creatures anyway, so it's understandable that you feel like that, because like one of the things that one brother mentioned was how, you know, the Prophet ﷺ said he came to perfect character and manners and stuff like that. All of that is to do with interaction with the people, and we are social beings. So it's amazing that the Prophet ﷺ came to basically fix that. And he also spoke about the Prophet ﷺ. How he said to fix your relationships, because they could, I think the narration says like shave off a thing, but the way the shave off a thing means like your deen. It will basically like, it will ruin your deen. If you don't have good relationships with the people, like your wife, your parents, your children, your siblings, that's gonna like ruin your iman. Because all your emotions and your brain power, everything is going towards like these damaged relationships,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be able to focus on your ibadah and your fixing your iman. So I think it's important, subhanAllah. But before I start practicing as well, I used to think that practicing people are probably like boring. They probably didn't crack jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But subhanAllah, I found out the complete opposite.
Same.
When I started meeting practicing brothers, I used to think they're the funniest people like around.
The best, bro.
Yeah.
And it's such a more pure relationship, because we were mentioning on a podcast in the last episode, or the episode before the last one, that one of the amazing things about brotherhood in Islam is that you can't even like mock each other. And so the beautiful thing is that you go from having friendships where it's normal to like mock each other and to take the mick out of each other, and even if you don't get offended at the time, maybe it does hit you a bit, and you go from that to having friends that not only don't mock you, so you feel like you're in a safe space, but they actually like promote you like to yourself. Like they're like, oh bro, like you're gonna kill it, man, like go into that job interview, you're gonna do great, like you're really good at this, trust me, you'll be fine. And if you don't get the job, they'll be like, oh bro, it's all good, like that was in your qadr. And it's so supportive, and you don't maybe experience them kind of relationships, or it's not normal, I don't know, that you don't normally experience those relationships maybe, but then that becomes normal, those kind of friendships. It just feels like a safe space. Like if I were to tell you something now, I would feel safe and to tell you. I wouldn't feel like, oh, maybe if I tell Noor this insecurity, that he'll like mock me. Like I asked, I told you in the car, I was like, do you have pets? Because I'm not good with pets. I wasn't scared that you'd be like, oh, you don't like pets, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were just like, nah, alhamdulillah.
You're scared of cats, aren't you?
I'm not as scared, because I'm not really scared of cats, because I feel like I have to pull this up every time somebody asks me that, because I actually have a video of like cats walking all over me when I went to my friend Yusuf's house years ago. But I feel like I have to get to know the cat. You know what I mean, bro? Because it's so like erratic, bro. Like if you had a cat there sitting there, it will just jump and just pounce over there. And it's that's the bit that's like, raw. You know what I mean? But once I get to know the cat and I know it's like what it likes, like, then I'm alright with cats.
But if you have like some sort of bad experience with them that made you like start getting scared.
No, it's just that erraticness that I don't like. But like I said, like I've gone to many people's houses where they've got cats and they're even walking on me or lying on me and sleeping on me, and I'm stroking. So it's not as bad, but I just need to know. Okay, I have to be mentally prepared. Right, you have a cat. Where is it? Right, it's there. And then like, and then you get a bit comfortable around it. Then you're right. Weird, isn't it?
Bro, with your events, how? Because like we was talking about knowing a lot of brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you decide on who you pick to be on the show, and what made you pick mental health as like the theme of the event for the second one?
There's a mix of things, bro. There's the business side of things where you need to pick people who will sell tickets. Then there's who you think will benefit. So like my uncle, who you mentioned, a lot of people like said that he was like their favorite part of the show. I predicted that he would be everyone's favorite part, because he would have been my favorite part. I've seen that he delivered that keynote to me in a coffee shop in Harrow when we were talking about what he was going to do, and I was getting emotional as he was delivering it to me, just like pressing the buttons on the PowerPoint. So I knew that would be the favorite, but I knew that and I told him this, I knew that he wouldn't sell tickets because he's not on social media that much and stuff. He's not got hundreds of thousands of followers. Whereas other people sell tickets. But then it's not just that. It's not like I'm using someone just to sell tickets, because I feel like there's benefit that you can draw from different people. And I think that the Faisal of like 2 years ago would be scared of bringing anyone on that isn't like, I don't know, just like a certain way. But I feel like people are very misrepresented, and people are misinformed about certain people and stuff like that, and that we can draw benefits from different people in certain ways. So does that answer your question or not really?
Yeah, no, it does. It makes sense. But why mental health then?
Okay, mental health. So the topic wasn't actually mental health. It was about
excellence.
Yeah, it was about mindset. Yeah, it was about mindset. And the reason it was about mindset is because I feel like that something that's a given in everybody's life is that they will go through tests, and really bad tests, because that's the nature of the dunya. So we know it. So let's say, for example, I meet you in the street. I don't know anything about you, but one thing I definitely know is that you've been through some hardship in your life. Definitely. So it's something that everyone can relate on, because you hear stories, bro. Like I had a meeting with a brother yesterday, and he on Sunday had a minor stroke. He had a stroke, bro, on Sunday, and he was with me in a coffee shop a few days later. That's a massive hardship. I met a brother a few months ago who his daughter, who was 4 or 5 years old, she passed away. Imagine that, bro. Like, may Allah protect us. And people's parents have passed away. So everyone's gone through struggles in their life. It's a given. So the concept for me was to say, let's do an event where we make ourselves emotionally vulnerable as the speakers on stage, and in turn, hopefully that will make the audience feel comfortable making themselves emotionally vulnerable, and that way they can let in the information that they're hearing and not have like an ego to it, and then maybe we can like teach some lessons to people as to how to deal with certain things. So the concept was that the social media guys who we had on stage, obviously we know like Aleem has 500,000 followers, Saf has like 1.2 million. So the concept of that was these guys have... The concept was that our audience probably have people in their life who are like naysayers, or people in their life who are like gonna say that their idea or something is really bad or something like that, right? Or that they can't do something. But these guys on stage get that every day. So how do they deal with it and still keep a smile on their face? So learning that lesson from them. And from my uncle, like seeing like the hardship he went through, his wife recently passed away and stuff like that, and how he was able to then carry on and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that was the reasoning behind it.
SubhanAllah. That's powerful, man. One thing I got from it was more from the, like what the title says, Operation Excellence, is the concept of ihsan, because you see that each of these guys, Allahumma barik, that they've achieved something in their life and has been basically trying to achieve excellence in that field, some level of excellence. And that was something like I think most people probably got, and it was quite inspiring and motivational to get to see that. It kind of gives you the energy to try and become excellent or achieve excellence in something. I'm sure you probably felt the same.
Yeah, I think we had like a lot of emotions in that event as well. Like different, there was that humor, there was tears and stuff. I think that's the last event that we're gonna have film though.
Oh really?
Like at that last event we're gonna put out, because we as a team, every time we put the events out on YouTube, we feel that you can't capture the like ambience that was in the room on video, and it kind of dampens like the event a bit. Like you can't, the feeling in the room is something different on those events. I'm sure you guys will agree. And you can't capture that in video, so maybe we might not film them anymore, or put them on YouTube, the whole event.
You have Al-Barik, we've seen like the team that you work with as well. They I'm sure they've aided you a lot as well. How do you think they've impacted you and helped you like get the success in the events and everything?
I think even if we just make it broader and talk about the people around you in life, I have first of all Allah to thank for anything, for everything, but anything like, but after that, the people around me are what make me, I'd say. And so in terms of friendships, you know, people like yourself or people like the friends that we have, there's a certain safety net you feel when you know, or you feel that your friends fear Allah more than they fear anything else, or more than they fear Allah more than they love anything else. So like I can sit here and wholeheartedly say that you, Noor, fear Allah more than you love money. So I know that it will never be a situation, inshallah, where any amount of money could make you do something that goes against what Allah wants you to do. And that makes me feel safe, bro. So now I can come to you and fully trust you with asking you something. Oh, bro, there's this situation happen, and you know this is the amount of money, or anything, bro. And you would actually first of all think from the eyes of from the thinking of the deen first, and then secondly, like my brother is my mentor for 99%. Almost everything any decision I've made in business, I run through with my brother. And I often tell people that if I didn't want to do something like business wise, the trick to convince me to do something is to just to convince my brother. Because if you can tell me to do something 100 times, and if I just feel like I don't want to do it, I'll tell you no 100 times. But if you convince him once and he tells me to do it once, it's done. He can sign. He can literally. If it was legal, I would literally let him have my signature to sign papers for me. But that's how much I trust him in business, like decisions. And then the people around me, like the team, yeah, bro, the team, bro, shall I tell you what, bro, the volunteers that we have for freshly grounded events, oh my gosh, bro, such a blessing. They, bro, imagine this, yeah. So so Yusuf is a volunteer manager, yeah. So he got the volunteers for our first event. Every single one of them, and bro, these guys are like, they're dedicating their time. Bro, people are flying in from different countries, putting themselves in hotels. People coming from all different cities around the UK, and to just because they believe in our movement, right? And they're like helping out at the event, and it is so much for us. And you feel guilty because you're like, you deserve so much appreciation from me. And every single one of them opted to when Yusuf emailed them and saying, look, we're doing our event. Do you guys like? And I said, Yusuf, give them priority, because alhamdulillah, we had a lot of people wanting to volunteer, but we have a limit of how many we need. And I said, Yusuf, obviously give them priority because they're such an amazing team. And every single one of them came back for the second episode. Yeah, every single one of them.
That's amazing.
And they did such an amazing job. And bro, they make the day so simple, bro. We've got sister volunteers and we've got brother volunteers, and we've got a lead sister and a lead brother. So there's no need for constant like everyone just like being all over the place, you know. We have one sister and she takes care of the sisters, and she has a radio, so she can contact the brothers through the radio, and we have one brother who deals with the brothers, and he contacts the sisters through that sister on the radio. So we have a very clear structure. And then the head sister and the head brother, they can deal with Yusuf, who is the lead of that whole department. Sure. So not now, if we have 50 volunteers, we haven't got 50 people trying to deal with Yusuf, because it gets difficult. So 25 are dealing with the head sister, 25 are dealing with the head brother, and they're dealing with Yusuf, and that's it. It's very simple structure, and it's just made our life so much easier. And Yusuf is amazing, bro. I can't sing Yusuf's praises enough. And then we had Kareem managing the event, and bro, you should have seen Kareem when he walked into the Aldwych on the event, bro. This was his first ever event that he managed. You'd never think it. He just handled it, bro. He's like speaking to the Aldwych staff. He's got the headset on. He's got a headset on and a radio for the Aldwych staff. He's got a radio for the freshly grounded staff. He's like, can this happen? Blah, blah, blah. Bro, they're so amazing, bro, the team, that by the middle of the show, they've already started, behind the scenes, no one can see it. Yeah. They've already started packing up the theatre, but you can't tell. So when the show, bro, Yusuf come up to me and he goes, Faisal, I need your key. I just trust him with it. I gave him my key. Bro, when the show finished, he gives me my key, and this is the second time he's done this now. He done it in the first minute as well. He gives me my key and he goes, your car's packed. You just got to go home now. Everything's done. Actually, the whole stage, bro, we walked, so the chairs that we had for that event were from the Hilton. I managed to convince the Hilton to lend us their chairs, and I said, I'll give them back to you, but I just need like great chairs. And the guy was lovely. I think your battery's running out on your thing, bro.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'll grab it in a sec.
Okay, so we bought the chairs. The event finishes now. As I'm walking off the stage, Yusuf's already got 5 volunteers walking on the stage. They all pick up a chair each. They go to the hood and they drop more. Like, this is the system that they had, bro. And I didn't have to do any of that. You know how amazing it is to have people with such high initiative, such high level thinkers around you that just get things done, bro. And you can't sing their praises enough, bro. Alhamdulillah, bro. Like, it's all from Allah. Allah has blessed me with that team, and I ask that Allah allows me to show them my appreciation. And do you know what? I ask that Allah allows me to I ask that Allah provides for freshly grounded, so that I can provide those people with a halal job and actually give them an income that is competitive in the market, that they deserve, because these people are graduates, and these people have graduate jobs actually that pay a good income, and they live in London, which is not cheap. But I ask that Allah continues to put a rizq in freshly grounded, so I can actually employ a whole team and to provide halal jobs for brothers, for sisters. Actually, imagine a sister having a job, yeah, where she where she can work from home, because actually we live in London, yeah, where realistically, if your wife wants to work, I want to be the type of husband where if she wants to work, she can. But it's tough because there's not a lot of halal jobs, bro. And so if my wife was to come to me and say, look, I've got a job professionally grounded where I can work from home because they don't need me to come in the office. I'm working from home and I can earn a good salary and I can look after the kids at the same time because I'm working from home. I can pray all my salah and I've got these timings where I can pick up the kids or whatever and I can still provide, like look after the house for you and all this kind of stuff. And that helps the husband because we're living in London, actually. You have to have 2 incomes in a household now really to survive in London, bro. You have to, unless you're earning a really good income. Imagine now I can provide that to many sisters where they can all work from home. We need a social media manager, bro. And our social media manager who manages our social media now on events, she manages our social media on event days. She's the best, bro. She's amazing. Akhi, imagine if I can provide her a job and say, we don't need you to come into the office. You can stay at home and we can have deliverables. And as long as you meet your deliverables, you can work from home and then now she can help provide for the household because it's not easy. That's my next dream for Freshly Grounded, bro. Just to provide halal jobs for so many people at that are competitive prices. And I've never told anyone, but that's my next goal. But that's my next goal.
May Allah grant you that. I mean, that's honestly a beautiful vision to have. I make that Allah grants you that. And
I mean. Please, anyone listening to this, please make that dua, please, because I sincerely want to do that for Allah's sake. I don't be able to provide people with that, man.
Okay, so bro, what I want to ask you is, how do you deal with, because you've got Freshly Grounded, you got your business, you're working, and you got family and everything, and you're studying as well. How do you manage your time? How do you give everyone their rights?
Again, this is attributed to the people around me. I wasn't giving everyone their rights, and then I had a sit down with. This was about 2 years ago now. You know Abdul Hakim Sunnah Remedies. He probably won't remember the conversation, but he sat me down in my office and I was saying, I'm stressed. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. He said, bro, you're not giving your family their rights. No, this. And he just sat me down. And he said, look, you have to be able to balance things out. And it really changed a lot for me, that conversation. And these conversations are things that maybe you have with people and as a passing conversation and you don't think about it, but it's really affected that person.
Yeah.
And that was one of those conversations, man. And so what I do is I work 9 to 5. So even though I can choose my hours, I only work 9 to 5. And I'm quite strict on it. I want to be in the office by 9, I want to be out by 5. Because I know that's a normal working hour. So my family will never like bother me in that time because they respect that that's my working hours. When you make that clear, there's a level of like making things very clear to the people around you to say, look, this is important to me, it's non-negotiable, and they'll be happy with that if you're consistent with it and you actually, because that means that your word means a lot to you. Do you know what I mean? What's that word when you're like, when your word holds weight, basically? So you have to show that
you're a man of
actually
your words, like your integrity.
Yeah, your integrity. Yeah. So I work 9 to 5, and my family's very respectful of that. I also wake up most days. I try and wake up at 5:30. I try to wake up at 5:30 around nowadays, and stay up from there. So I have about 2 or 3 hours in the morning where nobody needs me, right? And
you're smiling like that's your favorite time.
I'm smiling because I probably know what you're thinking. So at that time, that's my time to. Look, I'm giving you an ideal world, so I'm not saying this is me every single day, but this is my ideal day, right? That's my time to read the Mus'haf and do any revision and stuff like that I can fit in. And I always find that the morning is the best time for that. I'm a really big fan of breakfast, so I really enjoy my mornings where I'm by myself. I cook myself a nice big breakfast. I have my breakfast, I have my coffee, I catch up on the news, and that's important to me. What
would you have for breakfast?
I have big breakfasts, so I have it could be from like scrambled egg with like bread and something to like what most people would have for dinner, like a curry or something.
Really?
Yeah, I have really big breakfast. I've always been like that. I have and my family are weirded out by it. Everyone's weirded out by it. I have huge breakfasts, not huge breakfast, but just it says like what people have for dinner, I have for breakfast, and my dinner isn't necessarily massive. So that's important. So I manage a lot of my things in that time. So those 2 hours, I get my me time, and that's all I need in my day. I also go to the gym. So this morning I got there for about 7 a.m, which is a bit late because I go normally 6:30. So I fit in those kind of things around in them kind of couple hours, and then I have my shower and stuff, and I'm at the office for 9. So I've had my time maybe for training, for anything else that I want to do, and then I try and be at work for 9, and then I'm working till 5. So in those 8 hours, there's no excuse for me to not get everything I need to get done in the day, right? Otherwise, I'm being otherwise I'm not being very productive.
Mm.
Now after 5, and I really try my best to, it's just my time with my family, bro. And that's how you're able to manage everything great, because you actually give your family a lot of time. And let's say you're home by 6, bro, and I go to bed early. I'm maybe at 10 o'clock I'm in bed. Sometimes even 9:30. It's quite embarrassing, but that still gives me like 4 or 5 hours. Like, it was undivided with my family. But that's also why I don't like generally receiving messages in the evenings, especially to do with work. Sometimes I get messages at like 11 p.m. and someone's texted me like a guest recommendation for Freshly Grounded. And I'm a human, actually, and so sometimes you have good texts and bad texts, and that kind of stuff sometimes I struggle with, because I feel it's 11 o'clock, man. Like, it doesn't need to be done. But I'm guilty of myself, or like when I'm excited about something, I do message people, and it's work related sometimes late. So it's bad. Like, so I'm being a hypocrite by saying, but in an ideal world, I don't like to deal with many things after work hours.
Yeah,
that's quite important to me. Actually, and if I can manage to do that all the time, then I'm managing my time great.
MashaAllah. I think it sounds like a pretty good plan. One of the things that I tried to do last year when I went to, actually this year, when I went to Morocco, and then having that distance from my wife and stuff like that, I decided when I come back, whenever I come back from work, I'm going to put my phone away and just not touch it at all. So that's something that's still like a struggle, but it's, something I'm trying to do.
How have you found that?
Good. I feel like it makes a huge difference. Like, they feel like you're present, and they feel like you're not distracted by other things. And I think it's the worst thing when you're with people and you feel like they're just somewhere else, phone, maybe laptop. And I do struggle with these things. Like, I think most of us do in this day and age. But it's something to work on for sure.
Good.
Yeah, man. But you're still going gym as well, yeah? I'm
back on it now. I had some time off, bro, and I really struggled, bro. I had some time off when. So as you know, I was training with Ajmal Lats for about a year and a half, and we were training 4 or 5 times a week, and we did 2-hour gym sessions, and that was during the period where I wasn't giving everyone their rights, and that's when Abdul Hakim had that chat with me. So I moved because of that chat and stuff. I realized that I'm not giving, like, for example, my wife her rights. My argument to Abdul Hakim was that my wife doesn't mind, but he said that that is like, you need to work on that. Like, you need to actually, like, you need to go home and spend. It doesn't matter. Like, you need to give people their rights, and actually our relationship got so much better because I was giving more time to it. So I decided to leave that, because that gym basically was 45-minute trek, 45 minute back. That's an hour and a half. And then we're spending 2 hours in the gym, 3 hours of your evening, bro. And as you know, I go bed early. So let's say I get to the gym for 6, that's 7, 8, 9 p.m. I'm going home, I'm eating and sleeping. So I stopped training with them, and then I moved to a gym closer. But the bad side of it is that I really found it difficult to stick to my fitness with regards to, like, maintaining it. And I stopped training with them at the point where it was time for me to cut. So I bulked with them, great. And I went from like 67 kg to like 85.
Yeah.
And then I needed to get back down to like 79. And it never happened. And I would train every now and again, and my training sessions weren't powerful, and my diet went out the window. And this was, bro, for like a year. For like a year, bro, I lost consistency. I lost consistency in my diet. And only recently I've been able to pick it back up. Sure. I now train in the mornings with my brother. And it's nice because he trained with Ajmal for about a year after I did. So for the year that I was off, he started training. And so he learned, like, the fundamentals. So now that we both have the fundamentals, we're able to help each other.
MashaAllah.
And he's made a massive transformation, man. You wouldn't be able to tell by just looking at him, but he's made a huge transformation.
I can actually tell. I've seen some of his pictures and stuff. I see the little tricep gains coming from.
Yeah, he's made a massive transformation along Al-Balkhi. And now it's fun because we're able to train together, and we're able to, like, we know how to spot each other. We know all these different fundamentals that we didn't know before. We're no longer teaching each other how to do a workout. We're now
just kind of doing it together.
So only recently I've been able to pick it up, and I started buying healthy food. So if you were listen to my most recent podcast with Abdul Hakim, you'll know that I've for the house I try and buy, like, only veg and fruit now as of this week. And so I've been cooking veg dishes, and I got my juicer out again, and I'm making fresh juices with celery. And so now I'm trying to cut, man, because I'm a bit heavier than I want to be. I'm quite a lot heavier than I want to be. I want to lose about 6-7 kg, which is a lot of fat to shred. But I'll be at my ideal weight if I do that. So I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I've never cut very well. I'm not good at it.
Maybe it's a chat to have with Ajmal.
But he's very good. You know what, bro? Someone like Ajmal, they can tell you what to do because they're very good at it.
Yeah.
But I don't have his discipline. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Look
The
how many
discipline's
look how
hard.
many sugar almonds I just ate.
They're addictive, man. We all fall into that trap.
Yeah, diet.
Yeah.
I find diet very difficult, man.
Yeah.
I struggle a lot with diet.
MashaAllah. May Allah make it easy for you, bro.
I mean,
But your brother's his diet's pretty good, right? Because
my brother's diet is amazing.
yeah.
Alhamdulillah. But his genetics are also good. He doesn't get fat easily. Me, I can put on fat well. I can put on fat very easily.
But maybe it's like during that period of you bulking, like your metabolism slowed down. So if you start cutting, then I think your metabolism will start like picking up, and you'll probably
Yeah.
lose fat a lot quicker.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah.
I also got used to eating a lot more when I was bulking because I could kind of get quite a lot of calories
Yeah.
in, so I wasn't scared of how much I was getting in. It just had to be clean,
Yeah.
and because I was training almost every day with them, eating clean wasn't that difficult because you get that reminder every day at the gym. They talk about what they ate, they ask you what you ate.
Yeah, yeah.
When you don't have that accountability.
Mm.
It's difficult, man.
Yeah, discipline is really important, man. It's something to really, really like embed in our kids in the future, inshallah. Like I feel like when they have discipline as a kid, it doesn't matter in what sort of field it is, so long as they have some sort of discipline, when they grow up, they're gonna have that kind of discipline with them. Like if they do, that's why they recommend martial arts a lot. Kids should do martial arts.
Okay.
Yeah, even as an adult, you should do martial arts. But if you have that growing up, then when you're older, you're still gonna have some sort of like discipline. Whereas you don't have that, then you could potentially be all over the place when you're older, and very hard to stick to something. But that's this psychologist was saying that creative people have that. It's like a curse at the same time. You're very creative, but at the same time, it's very difficult to stick to one thing because you're constantly like.
Yeah, my dad used to make fun of me when I was when I was younger because I would like start a sport and never finish it. So like I would do like hockey and then I would buy all this hockey gear, and then I would quit and then I'd start football and I'd buy all this football stuff and my dad was like, you never stick to anything.
SubhanAllah.
I actually made a commitment to stick to Freshly Grounded because of that. Because I always give up on things easily or when they get tough. So I told myself that if that happens with Freshly Grounded, not to give up. So far, I'm okay.
It's good, mashallah. I think you guys have done 120 something episodes right now, right?
126 today.
126,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah.
I mean,
Mashallah. May Allah bless it.
I mean,
As a final question,
Yes.
what I want to ask you is, how do you deal with like financial like struggles and stuff like that?
how do I deal with financial struggles, akhi, is I try my best to. Okay, so the ideal answer, or what I'd like to think, is that I try my best to understand. I know that Allah has never let me down yet in terms of. Like I've so far, alhamdulillah, in 26 years, managed to have a roof over my head, food on my table, and I've got by, right? And so if Allah hasn't let me down yet, then the precedent is that Allah doesn't let me down. He's never let me down. So it's 100% of the time, He's going to provide for me, right? And He's Ar-Razaq. Obviously, we know anyway. I don't have to convince myself that anyway, because He already tells us. But so there is that element of knowing that Allah will provide. But that doesn't make it easier always. Like sometimes you do still, obviously, when you go through financial struggles, you go through financial struggles. But one thing that really, really, really helped me was I started listening to this guy called Dave Ramsey. And I'm really, you like Dave Ramsey because of, really? Okay, so basically, bro, Dave Ramsey is this Christian guy, yeah? And because he's Christian, it's important for me to mention that he's Christian because he's Christian, he talks about a lot of the stuff from the Bible, which again is important because he doesn't talk about things with Aqeedah and stuff, and yes, it's dangerous to listen to. I understand that, and it goes back to my episode that I did with Tim Humble, that when you listen to these things and you read these books from non-Muslims, you can Tim Humble himself, Ustad Sheikh Tim Humble, reads books from non-Muslims, but you have to read them with a certain lens, and you have to be very careful, and you know yourself if you can read those books or not, because you know your own level of knowledge and stuff like that. So the reason I explain that he's Christian is because he uses concepts that are important to us as Muslims, like the fact that God doesn't want you to be in debt. Allah doesn't want us to be in debt, but He's made it halal for us, but He doesn't want us to be in debt. That's very important for us to know. So Dave Ramsey's podcasts and his show changed my life, bro, financially. Because what it made me realize is that everything I'm doing financially is wrong, and every penny counts. So one of his concepts, for example, is that our parents or our grandparents, if they wanted a new sofa, if they didn't have the money for the sofa, they wouldn't buy the sofa. Khalas. But we live in an era where everything is available on interest-free finance or finance. So if we can't afford something, we can't afford it, but on a monthly we can afford it. So he works on reducing all of your monthly outgoings. So he has like a plan that I followed, which is first his step one of the plan is you save a £1,000 emergency fund ASAP. No matter, forget all your debts, forget you have £1,000 emergency fund. That's important because, as you know, we're family men. Imagine you're driving somewhere, your car breaks down, it costs £250 to fix the motor there and then, middle of the night, and you don't even have that in your account. That's an emergency. That's even more important than paying off your debts at that point. So you have to have that £1,000 emergency fund. Step 2 is the debt snowball. So you pay off your debts as quick as you can. And so that is, and you start from the smallest to largest. And he explains that mathematically, yes, that's not correct, because mathematically you should start with your largest. But the problem is that this isn't a mathematical issue. This is a issue of psychology, behavior issue. So if you start with the smallest debt, you get into a snowball. And obviously these are the points where we use our Islamic head. We say, okay, what's actually more important to us is if we we are in any debts that have interest, we have to prioritize those because Islamically you're not allowed to be in interest. So that's where we use our Islamic knowledge, but so this debt snowball. So if you have a £50 debt, you pay it off as fast as possible. Then you go to the £100 debt, then the £1,000 debt, £2,000 debt, and you clear off your debts like that as quick as possible. At this point, bro, you don't spend anything on clothes, you don't spend anything on outside food, you don't spend nothing that doesn't need to be spent on. You just do not spend that money. And about a year ago, I followed it to the T, bro. Like, I wouldn't spend money on, and I made it clear to my wife what my plan was, because obviously I'm living with her, and there were certain priorities that I was still willing to do, but clearing my monthlies was very important to me. So I looked at all so one thing I did is I created a spreadsheet. So now my finances, I live by a spreadsheet. Every month when I get paid, I input that number to my spreadsheet. My spreadsheet tells me, I have it written down, all my monthly outgoings, and according to the number, everything gets sorted out, right? So I get paid on, for example, if I was to get paid on the 31st of every month, on the 31st of every month, the number one priority for me is to go through my spreadsheet. And what I do on that spreadsheet is any of my bills that need to be cleared, if they can be cleared on that day, they automatically come out of my account on the day. If they can't, they go into that amount of money goes into my savings account. So that, like, let's say if there's my gym bill costs £30 a month, it can only come out on the 25th. So on the 1st or the 31st, I'll transfer £30 into my savings account, and on the 24th it'll go back into my normal account, so then it comes out. The point of it is that in my current account I don't even have that money to spend, bro. So I do that down to a T, to even my haircuts and my petrol. So the amount of money I spend on my haircuts in a month is not in my bank account, it's in my savings account. So now whatever's left in my bank account is money that's spare, because everything to a T has now been accounted for. So, and then he has other steps, like, for example, he doesn't talk about the spreadsheet, but I implemented the spreadsheet from Omar. Omar showed me his spreadsheet and I liked it. And my spreadsheet has, if I have debts, it has my debts in it. If I have savings, it has my savings in it. It has my, all those kind of things. So right now, my current thing that I'm like really strong on is trying to pay off my car. Because even though my car's not in interest-based finance, I've still got a bit of money on it. I'm trying to plow through it because I don't want to have any more monthlies and stuff. And he says about upgrading your cars and that kind of stuff. That helps with future, but actually going through financial struggles is something that I have gone through and that I will definitely go through, because we know the nature of the dunya is up and down, up and down. I've seen brothers who have gone from having an £8 million business to overnight not being able to pay for their house. So we have to know that that everything can go. And actually, man, I struggle just like everybody else, and we just make it work because we have to have yaqeen in Allah. The beauty of being a Muslim is that you never go too far deep, inshallah. Like, it's like that safety net. You can never go too far into, like, inshallah, like into like really severe depression, if we do everything correctly, because then we know that Allah will provide.
SubhanAllah. I was speaking to one brother, actually, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about this concept of wanting to not really work for somebody else, have something of your own, like your own business or whatever, so you're not relying upon anyone else for your income, for example. And I was thinking, I don't want to have this thing over me that I could have this job today, I might not have it today, tomorrow, or something like that. And I was thinking, if I have my own business and then I'm financially free, like all of that kind of stuff. But then I was thinking, even if I had that, say like I had like £1 million business, overnight that could go down as well. Like it's all in the hands of Allah. So
Yeah, and also Dave Ramsey's plan accounts for that, because one of the steps, once you paid off your debts and all that kind of stuff, the other step is that you save about 6 months worth of income. So it's not 6 months worth of your salary, it's 6 months worth of what you need to survive. So let's say if you as Noor need £1,500 a month to survive, that covers your house rent, it covers your food bills, it covers your bills. So every month you need £1,500. So you would save, what's 1,500 times 6? Like, let's say call it 10 grand, because I can't do my maths like that.
I think it's 12.
Okay, so that means that that when you get to that stage, you're saving £12,000. Now what happens is, if you lose your job, bro, for 6 months, you can survive while you try and get a new job, you try and get your business going, but you can survive for 6 months. So that's a really good step. But I agree with you, bro. Like, there's no assurance, but you can lose your job, you can lose your business. Everything's in the hands of Allah, and we will go through ups and downs until the day we die.
Yeah, subhanAllah. That's what I was thinking as well, that instead of trying to have all these like safety nets, to be more content with what you have and just rely on Allah. Like, you do your part, obviously, but then ultimately it goes back to relying on Allah. Because like this sort of what would you call it? This technique.
It's like a plan.
Like a plan, yeah. Like, you could have the plan, but Allah might have a different plan for you. So
of course, and also I think one of the most beautiful notes to end this on is that how beautiful is it that if you're struggling financially, that the test that Allah has put you through is the test of finances and not the test of iman, or not the testing for you for your family. Because akhi, we know that Allah doesn't value the dunya, yeah, and so He's testing you with something that even He doesn't value, right? Whereas He values your relationships with your parents, He values your iman and all this kind of stuff. So the thing that, actually, I don't want to misquote it, but maybe in a story about Umar ibn Khattab, or a hadith about Allah valuing the dunya, Allah valuing the wing of a fly more than the dunya. I maybe we can research it and put it in the comments or something. But when you think about that, you realize that this dunya is really not that valuable, and you're being tested with that. Alhamdulillah.
That's powerful. I've never thought of it like that. SubhanAllah. That is powerful, though.
It's so powerful, and it's a beautiful note to end the podcast on.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Jazakallah khairan for coming.
Bro, thank you so much for having me on. But yeah,
it was really beneficial, man. I've picked up a lot of things from this.
I just hope I didn't talk too much.
No, bro. That's you're the guest, man. That's what's supposed to happen.
I'm used to being a host. Jazakallah khair for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to your listeners if they made it this far. And that's it, really. Jazakallah khair, man.
Barakallahu feekum.
Wa feekum barak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.